Chapter 781. Just getting started. Before entering the corpse realm, Jiang Hao understood that there were two types of seas. One was the corpse sea. It was a sea that would appear occasionally but wasn't as dangerous. It was just not commonly seen. It was similar to Heavenly Steely Mountain. The other was the endless sea. It was a sea where one would be pulled into upon entry. Once inside, there was no escape. One couldn't enter or leave. Upted on BX0vel. CM at that time, it was uncertain whether one could even stay alive. Jiang Hao didn't know exactly what kind of sea it was. He didn't think about it any longer. Instead, he collected his things. He left behind the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl. He tried to put away his belongings, and as he did so, the waves appeared. The endless sea emerged. Jiang Hao felt as if he was about to plunge into an abyss. Without hesitation, he took out the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl again. In an instant, the space became stable, the sea area gradually vanished too. Jiang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. He was curious how Gui and the others had entered the corpse realm and remained unharmed. He had just advanced to the Immortal Ascension platform. If it were above the Immortal Ascension platform, wouldn't he have fallen into the endless sea? Hiding was of no use. His ability to conceal his cultivation had surpassed numerous others. But he still needed to rely on the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl here. Perhaps I need another identity. Jiang Hao recalled that Shong'an and others had used someone else's identity to enter the realm. However, Shong'an's true form appeared after a while. Jiang Hao didn't know how he had managed to avoid danger then. Jiang Hao shook his head and set aside his thoughts. Shong'an had prepared for many years. Perhaps there were more ways. He didn't have that much time to prepare. After packing his things, he left. The yin-yang bracelet also returned to his wrist. It was almost October. He planned to rest for a few days and then continue mining because his mind wasn't at peace. After advancing to the Immortal Ascension platform, he had gained formidable power. There was an impulse within him to challenge someone. He felt like he was invincible. Such feelings were normal. He calmed himself down. As he left the cave, his aura gradually diminished and stabilized to display his cultivation at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. He looked around but found no one. They haven't returned yet. The place was as desolate as ever, but many spirit herbs grew on the ground. Spiritual energy was also gathering densely here. Having ascended to the Immortal Ascension platform, his perception had sharpened. Coupled with the knowledge from the Nameless Manual, he could sense the aura in the mountains too. Although it was barren and dry here, there seemed to be an underlying force of mountains and rivers underground, which remained dormant and unseen, as if it was waiting for something. It didn't seem entirely natural. It felt as though it was man-made. The details were hard to understand. The perception that came with the Immortal Ascension platform wasn't enough. He needed the help of the Heaven Lock technique. From this perspective, the one who created this place was quite formidable. After waiting for a long time, he still didn't see anyone return. 3 days later, Guan Zhongfei returned with a radiant smile on his face. When he saw Jiang Hao, he stopped smiling and bowed to him. He was surprised. Although Jiang Hao still seemed to be in the middle stage of the golden, he seemed to possess a different aura. It felt as though getting closer to him would be fatal. Did the selling of ores go well? Jiang Hao looked at him. Yes. We earned a total of 70,000 spirit stones. Guan Zhongfei presented all 70,000 spirit stones. Jiang Hao knew that they had met a big client. This reminded him of senior sister Lang Tian and senior brother Duan Guan. It had been a long time since he had seen them. Now, we have a total of 120,000 spirit stones, Jiang Hao said. After dividing it, he could also earn more than 40,000 for himself. He felt wealthy again. Adding the 20,000 he already had, he would have a lot of spirit stones. Do you have September spring on you? Jiang Hao suddenly asked. Guan Zhongfei shook his head. Jiang Hao waited for Dole to return. However, he still didn't return even after 2 days. It's time, Guan Zhongfei said. Jiang Hao nodded. Being a day or two late was normal. During this time, he He had tried to study the art of forging, which was truly profound. His only regret was that he didn't seem to have a talent for it. However, it might still be useful to keep it for later. Someday, when he desired to learn it again, he could give it a try. But for now, he set it aside. Jiang Hao didn't have as much time to fuss over forging matters. After all, cultivating spirit herbs and making talismans already took up most of his time. The remaining time was covered by mining. So, there was no time to do other things. 2 more days passed. In early October, Jiang Hao still didn't see Dole. Instead, he saw some Golden Core Realm cultivators. These were the same 3 people he had encountered before. It was fate. However, their arrival didn't seem like a coincidence. Dole must have run into some trouble, said Jiang Hao. He stood up and walked toward the 3 people. You can leave these little fries to me, said Guan Zhongfei. He intended to show off a bit. Jiang Hao shook his head. No need. Guan Zhongfei probably didn't care about Dole, so Jiang Hao didn't need to force the issue. However, Jiang Hao wanted to know the details. If he was powerless, then there was nothing he could do. If it was within his capabilities, he would do his best to save Dole. What Dole had done for him was a small matter, but he couldn't leave him in danger. He had saved Jiang Hao from the 3 Golden Core Realm cultivators before. They seemed excited to see him. It seems we've found the right place. Are you here to mine? Jiang Hao asked softly. Mine? The man in the lead chuckled. Who would mine in this place? We're here to snatch your gains from mining. It seemed their guess was correct. Dole refused to speak. I guess there is no senior to speak of in this place, after all. Just a bunch of golden cultivators. That's why he refused to speak. It seems he was saving other weaklings. I don't even know why Dole's sect chose him to enter this place, said the man in the lead with a sneer. Jiang Hao had already guessed that Dole had been captured, but he hadn't disclosed their location. Can you tell me where Dole is? Jiang Hao asked softly. The 3 people burst into laughter. You better consider your own fate. You still dare to. Before the man in the lead could finish his words, he felt his vision blur. Finally, with a thud, he fell to the ground. For a moment, he was dazed. Then, he fainted. His blood splashed onto the other 2. They were still laughing, but now, they froze in place. Can you tell me where Dole is? Asked Jiang Hao. At that moment, the 2 of them looked at Jiang Hao in disbelief. They saw that he held a blade in his hand. That blade had killed their leader. You, the woman charged forward angrily. How dare you, splat. There was a slash, and the person fell to the ground. She was no longer breathing. Jiang Hao looked at the last person standing. I don't like to repeat myself. Chapter 782. We walk the same path. Jiang Hao held the half-moon blade in his hand and felt nostalgic. It had been a long time since he had clashed with anyone. Be it outside or within the sect, he rarely engaged in conflicts. In recent years, he had worked on his state of mind or mining and cultivating spirit herbs. He quite enjoyed that kind of life. Upted on BX0vel. CM fighting and killing weren't good. Even if he won this time, next time could end up being his last. Losing in such situations would be catastrophic. Therefore, he avoided everything and resolved issues as quickly as possible. Since everyone who had come here wanted to challenge him, he needed to be prepared. He worried about being weaker than others. He was concerned that would put an end to his progress. It was all for him to progress a little further and become a little stronger. Whether one was right or wrong didn't matter here. Everyone was on the same path. It was all about survival. With a sigh, Jiang Hao looked at the last person standing. Even dealing with Golden Core Realm cultivators required him to put in his full effort. These people were all extraordinary, and no one knew what kind of trouble they might stir up. Let's take a walk and talk. Jiang Hao soared on his sword and swiftly crossed the distance with the Golden Core Realm cultivator before him. The Golden Core Realm cultivator felt a sense of dread. It seemed the person before him was not an ordinary cultivator in the middle stage of the Golden. He wasn't at Primordial Soul Realm, either. He was more powerful than that. The reason they had survived last time was because Dole had saved them. Now, They had willingly walked into their doom. Although they had escaped death before, they had walked toward it again. Dole was captured by someone. There's news that Dole was selling ores for a senior, and this senior might possess a tremendous opportunity related to Heavenly Steely Mountain. The rumor was that the senior was powerful enough to control the whole mountain, and Dole was selling ores on his behalf to collect enough spirit stones to activate a hidden treasure, the man said. Jiang Hao furrowed his brow. Did anyone believe such a bizarre story? Such events have occurred, Guan Zhongfei said seriously. But it's just hearsay. It's rumored that someone from the Astronomical Academy achieved this and attracted Heavenly Steely Mountain before and advanced in a single leap. It's said that he was the only one to climb Heavenly Steely Mountain then, and others couldn't enter that area because it was under his control. No one knew what he obtained, but everyone knew that his cultivation realm had advanced rapidly. He became a legend. Jiang Hao was surprised. From the Astronomical Academy? Which senior was Guan Zhongfei shook his head. I don't know. No one does. But everyone believed that he had the power to control a large area. So, when news was leaked, many people surely wanted to investigate. Because of this, it attracted many people? Jiang Hao asked. Yes, and Dole became an informant. People wonder who might be behind Dole. We know that Dole can't do anything like that. Otherwise, why would someone be interested in someone like Dole, said the man disdainfully. He thought of something and looked at Jiang Hao. It did seem that Dole had the attention of a senior. Where is Dole now? Jiang Hao asked. He was captured by a powerful person. Rumors suggest that this senior has already obtained the location of the treasure. Then, she was besieged. She hasn't obtained it yet. She left Dole in an open space so anyone could interrogate him. She wants to remain clear of suspicion. However, Dole truly is tight-lipped. I heard that he remained silent even when his limbs were broken, said the man in admiration. Are the people still there? Guan Zhongfei asked. Some left, but some felt there might be a possibility of the person behind all this showing up. Also, Dole had quite a lot of ores and spirit stones on him, so everyone's eyes were on him, the man said. Jiang Hao fell silent. However, his speed increased. This time, even Guan Zhongfei felt a chill from Jiang Hao. He was unbelievably fast. 2 days later, Jiang Hao arrived at the edge of Moon Lake. There were quite a few people there, and their cultivation realms were not low. Where is he being held? Jiang Hao asked a nearby Golden Core realm cultivator. Over there, said the person and pointed. Jiang Hao flew over. It was a forest with chaotic signs of struggle, but apart from a few individuals in the middle, Dole was nowhere to be seen. Jiang Hao sighed. He would have to ask others. He glanced at a middle-aged man, who also returned his gaze. He was at the peak of the Soul Ascension realm. Excuse me, do you know where Dole is? Jiang Hao asked. Why are you looking for him? The middle-aged man looked at Jiang Hao. He's in my team. You've captured him, so naturally, I've come to take him back, Jiang Hao said calmly. Your team? The middle-aged man was taken aback. You're the one controlling the area with the treasure? Jiang Hao smirked and nodded. Yes, that's me. Something flickered in the middle-aged man's eyes, and those around him were also astonished. Guan Zhongfei was dumbfounded. He knew this wasn't true. Jiang Hao was deliberately provoking people. Is that so? Yes. So, can you tell me where Dole is? Jiang Hao asked. Can I see the treasure? The middle-aged man's aura expanded. At that point, being at the peak of the Soul Ascension realm made him the strongest person around. However, Jiang Hao's fan appeared in his hand, and his figure vanished. He reappeared in front of the middle-aged man. The fan poised against the man's shoulder. An invisible wind blade sliced open the man's neck, and blood spurted out. Do you still want to see it? Jiang Hao asked. The middle-aged man's heart raced. He didn't dare act rashly. Do you know where Dole is? I know. He was taken into the lake. Someone wanted to use him to find the location of someone you're associated with. Jiang Hao nodded and headed toward the center. He didn't take anyone with him. In the center of the lake, a group of people surrounded Dole. He seemed unconscious. Yin Xuanyi frowned. She hadn't expected things to turn this way. What was previously about finding a golden core realm cultivator had turned into a situation involving a group of soul ascension realm cultivators. She couldn't leave either because these people still suspected that she knew something. As for the treasure controlling a certain area, she hadn't even heard of it. Using Dole should have been in her favor. However, things had escalated, and it made her have second thoughts about the whole thing. But when she wanted to retreat, others didn't allow it. Everyone, it's worth trying. If there really is a treasure controlling an area, everyone knows the kind of benefit we'll get from it, a young man said. He held a compass in his hand, and a formation extended beneath his feet. 6 Soul Ascension Realm Cultivators and 8 Golden Core Realm Cultivators joined forces. They believed they couldn't find the person backing Dole. The person hasn't shown themselves right now. But if we find them, we'll surely find more opportunities, said a Soul Ascension Realm woman. Hasn't shown themselves, have they? Said an amused voice came from behind. Why would I hide? I'm late because I wasn't informed about this. Everyone felt a chill. The man in the lead attempted to turn to look, but a blade pierced through his chest. Don't you know interfering in other people's business gets you killed? Jiang Hao pulled out the blade from the body and smiled at everyone. You captured my man and tortured him. I'm not unreasonable. You all shared one goal. Now, we tread the same path. Chapter 783. Those who are evil will meet their doom. Jiang Hao's sudden appearance disrupted everyone's plans. Moreover, his attack left everyone trembling with fear. A Soul Ascension Realm cultivator at his peak was killed and couldn't even muster up the power to defend himself. Such a powerful person scared everyone. Everyone began to retreat and avoid Jiang Hao. Only the person who was lying with his blood staining the lake was unmoving. Who are you? Asked the Soul Ascension Realm woman. Weren't you all looking for me? Jiang Hao ignored them and walked to Dole's side. Dole's limbs weren't working, and he was on the brink of death. Even his cultivation showed signs of decline. It was halfway ruined. Jiang Hao sighed and waved his hand, and a purple aura entered Dole's body. It protected his meridians and nourished his body. Then, he looked at the others. He was surprised to see that they hadn't fled. Friend, you should know that once cultivators beyond the Soul Ascension realm exert too much power in this place, they'll face catastrophes. Even if you have remarkable abilities, you can't deal with us all. Why not bring out that treasure and share it with us? Asked a man. Upted on BX0vel. CM Jiang Hao smiled. The treasure is on me. You can come and try to take it. The group of people hesitated. They didn't want to fall into his trap. Since that's the case, I'll make the first move, said Jiang Hao with a smile. In an instant, he was beside the man who had just spoken. He struck him. The man had already prepared his defensive magic treasure. It's useless. Although your strength is formidable, my magic treasure is stronger. You might break through it using your full strength, but you'll also be devoured by the corpse realm, the young man said confidently. Before he could finish his words, a beam of moonlight flashed past. At that moment, his confidence faltered. He felt his own power disappearing. Soon after, his body split apart and dropped into the lake. He couldn't even understand how he had died. Jiang Hao looked at the man apologetically. Your treasure might not have been fully activated. Then, he turned to the others. Many began to flee. Senior, moonlight flashed, and Jiang Hao beheaded the speaker. We agreed to leave together, didn't we? A person should have integrity at least, said Jiang Hao indifferently. The crowd was terrified. Soon, some of them started to fight back. Friend, if you spare us, we'll spare you. We come from influential backgrounds. There's no need to be this aggressive. Someone tried to reason with Jiang Hao. Step back, and show some mercy. At that moment, someone tried to push Jiang Hao back. Various spells and attacks came at him. Jiang Hao smiled. Are Golden Core Realm cultivators not worthy of your mercy? He blocked various spells and attacks effortlessly. Friend, his background is not that influential, and his cultivation is weak. This place isn't suitable for him. Since He's here, he must be prepared. Without background or talent, He's different from you and me. Even if he dies, it's just natural for him, said someone. Jiang Hao nodded. That made sense. Then, he walked over to her side and used the mountain suppression technique. The person's vitality dissipated with one slash, and her body shattered. Jiang Hao looked at her. You've misunderstood something. His his background. That doesn't matter. They are not his lifeline. I am. He is under Smiling Sand Shung's protection and is free to roam around Moon Lake as he pleases. You provoked him. You asked for this. In an instant, Jiang Hao brandished his sword, and the wind surged. Blood splattered wherever the blade passed. For a moment, everyone was horrified. They looked at Jiang Hao in fear. They tried to persuade him. They even tried to explain their influential background to make him stop. Some fled the scene. However, it was all in vain. One by one, bodies fell into the lake from Jiang Hao's strikes. Watching this from afar, Guan Zhongfei was petrified. He didn't dare make a move. He was afraid of offending the person in the lake. Luckily, he had understood from the start and had never tried to target Dole. Dole was an ordinary cultivator in terms of talent, but he had met someone far more powerful than anyone else could fathom. Guan Zhongfei lowered his head. He couldn't watch any longer. These people gathered by the lake weren't weak. They were strong individuals, and yet, Smiling Sand Shung murdered them without breaking a sweat. This person looked amiable but was crazy. Those who treated him kindly saw his generosity, while those who treated him badly met their doom. In just a short while, most people had died and fallen into the lake. Some people tried to run but couldn't. At that moment, only Yin Xuanyi was still standing. Jiang Hao looked at her. Are you the one who captured Dole? I didn't mean to offend you, senior. I was merely looking for someone. They were the ones looking for some treasure. Senior, I was pressured into it, Yin Xuanyi said nervously. She truly hadn't expected things to escalate like this. It was supposed to be just about finding a certain golden core realm cultivator. Why did you capture Dole? Jiang Hao asked. A rumored treasure couldn't just appear out of thin air. There must have been someone behind the scenes manipulating the whole thing. I just wanted to know the location of a golden core realm cultivator from him, said Yin Xuanyi. And you assumed this golden core realm cultivator was associated with Dole? I don't know. Someone told me about it. Who was it? I don't know her name, but I killed her. Jiang Hao frowned. You cannot kill me, senior. I have a treasure on me. If you kill me, my grandfather will sense it, and it won't be good for you, Yin Xuanyi said pleadingly. Is that so? Jiang Hao was surprised. He ended her life with one slash. A person should always be honest and without bias. If he left her alive after killing everyone else, wouldn't that look unfair? He closed his eyes and began to sense his surroundings. If someone was using Yin Xuanyi, they must be nearby. The person was remarkable. They had manipulated so many people into believing a lie. It reminded him of someone. He wondered if they were connected. After a moment, he opened his eyes. Found them. On the other side, the woman in black robes and the young man looked astonished. They were observing the situation on the lake's surface using their treasures. Yin Xuanyi was killed. The situation has escalated beyond our expectations. At least, we completed the mission, said the young man in relief. Yeah. That person who suddenly appeared is indeed strong, but what's the use? In the end, they became our pawns, the woman in black robes said with a bright smile. Suddenly, a blade appeared near her neck. She froze. Chapter 784, Bloodbath. This sudden attack left the woman in black robes speechless. The young man beside her was taken aback. He hadn't noticed anything at all. How had the person discovered them so fast? Friend, let's talk. We were just passing by and got curious. We were just peeking to see what was happening there. We didn't mean to offend you, said the woman in black robes. Yeah. We were just passing through. We didn't mean to offend. Please don't get angry. It's just a misunderstanding. If there is something we can do, well do it, said the young man. He wore a black robe with blue patterns and looked rather extraordinary. He exuded a mysterious charm. He seemed to possess unique powers and extraordinary strength. He looked remarkable. Jiang Hao glanced at him and smiled. Misunderstanding? Although he hadn't heard everything, he knew these people were trying to fool him. Yes, it's all a misunderstanding. Senior, please don't act rashly, the woman in black robes said fearfully. Without hesitation, Jiang Hao slashed down, and the woman collapsed. After that, he quietly watched the body on the ground. He chuckled. This technique is quite interesting. The body wasn't the real one. It was borrowed. Although the aura was muddled, Jiang Hao could sense that someone else was controlling this body from the shadows. Upted on BX0vel. CM and that person was nearby. Won't you come out? Jiang Hao smiled. There was no escape. Not only did he have the heavenly cauldron, but also the yin-yang bracelet. There was no way in or out. Friend, how about I help you find her? Can you spare me? The young man asked with a smile. Isn't she your fellow sect member? Jiang Hao asked. Fellow sect member? Friend, you must be joking. Someone who doesn't even know there's a treasure on Yin's Wanus body. How could that person be my fellow sect member? I presume my fellow sect members are already dead. I've chosen to withhold that truth since her goals somewhat align with mine, said the young man. He was called Ku Hu-san, a true disciple of the Heavenly Gate sect. He was in the early stage of return to Void Realm. By the way, this person seems to be in league with the fallen immortal clan. They exchange a lot of messages in secret. Those people are about to arrive. Friend, you'd better deal with her and leave as soon as possible, Ku Hu-san said kindly. He knew how strong this person was. He knew he was no match for him. If he could escape somehow, that would be great. After all, this person didn't seem that bad. He was saving people and standing up for others too. Therefore, he could be easily influenced. Although he was one of the instigators behind the scenes, he hadn't taken any direct action. If this person was good, now would be the time to make him pay. He could abandon the others. Friend, I can still offer. A blade plunged into his heart without any hesitation. You must feel great trying to play a game with me, right? Jiang Hao stared at the person. Now, you should also feel the blade. Otherwise, your life will be full of regrets. He withdrew the blade and cut the body in two. Ku Hu-san looked at the person before him in horror. He had never expected that all his preparations were useless. He couldn't defend against this opponent at all. Jiang Hao took the storage treasure. He would return later to take the storage treasures of the others. Killing the enemy was important, and spirit stones were important too. Although he wanted to take the storage treasures, he had to make sure his surroundings were safe first. The people here weren't weak. After collecting the storage treasure, Jiang Hao walked step by step toward the woods. The skills from the Nameless Manual and the Heaven Lock technique weren't something others could attain. He arrived in front of a tree. Why hide from me? I heard you prepared a gift too. I'm here to collect it. Jiang Hao took out the last tranquil heart fruit and ate it. This is really the last one. However, the tree didn't react at all because it had turned into an ordinary tree. With a flicker, Jiang Hao appeared in front of another tree. Your technique has some flaws. I discovered it so quickly, Jiang Hao said. He had identified the person. It was a clone of Feng Hua. He hadn't made a move because he was waiting. Feng Hua had sent 3 avatars this time, along with one leading a group of the fallen immortal clan. He didn't want to bother with the fallen immortal clan. He was waiting for a Notna avatar. There was no way in or out of here, and even the avatar's memories were cut off. There was no way in or out. The yin-yang bracelet was truly impressive. Jiang Hao extended his hand and struck the ground. With a bang, the woman in black robes was knocked out of the tree. She coughed out some blood and looked at Jiang Hao. Senior, why target me? I'm just a puppet. A puppet? Jiang Hao nodded slightly. I see. You have no purpose then. I can help, Senior, the woman in black robes said earnestly. In that case, I'll have to trouble you a little. Jiang Hao raised the half-moon blade and struck down. Blood splattered. Jiang Hao stabbed twice more. This time, it's all over. After collecting the storage treasures, Jiang Hao walked outside. Others had also arrived. Once he took care of all of them, he could mine in peace. It was quite troublesome to handle them one by one. On the other side, a middle-aged man furrowed his brow. TVVO powerful cultivators followed behind him. They were almost at their limits. With their precious possession, they could use all their power. You said there's news about Jiang Xiaoli here, a woman asked. Yes, just ahead. The middle-aged man pointed forward. At that moment, they all saw a figure approach. The middle-aged man started silently and stepped back. Shortly after, a tremendous power erupted in the woods. There was a flash of a blade. Moments later, the two fallen immortal clan members looked at the man in front of them in disbelief. The pearl in his hand made them feel horrified. After beheading the two people, Jiang Hao approached the middle-aged man. It's been too long, Feng Hua, he said with a smile. Where's the gift you promised me? I'll come out and ask you for it myself. I just don't know if you can receive this message. The blade rose and fell. The middle-aged man glared at Jiang Hao. After a while, Jiang Hao left with Dole from Moon Lake. The news quickly spread. Moon Lake was dyed red with the blood of numerous Soul Ascension realm cultivators. Those who heard the news dared not act rashly here. And Dole, the cause of everything, was known to everyone. Dole? Our junior brother? Disciples from the Mountain River Valley sect couldn't believe it. In just a month, Dole became a person no one dared to provoke. Rumors spread that someone had slaughtered the Soul Ascension realm experts because they had threatened Dole. Chapter 785, Striking It Rich. Jiang Hao returned to the 1,000-feet mountain. He placed Dole on the side to allow him time to recover. The matter at Moon Lake was over, but the impact of it would be significant. It seemed someone was spreading rumors in secret. Otherwise, things wouldn't have come to this. It must have been Feng Hua's backup plan. She didn't know the details, so she blamed everything on Dole. In that way, the deaths at Moon Lake would be assumed to be connected to Dole. Once he left this place, Dole would be in danger. That was something Jiang Hao couldn't control. Let alone in the western region, it would be challenging to ensure his safety even in the southern region. At present, all Jiang Hao could do was provide him as much safety as he could. Guan Zhongfei also felt that Dole would be in danger. Although no one dared to provoke Dole in the corpse realm, it was different outside. Upted on BX0vel. CM even his sect wouldn't be able to protect him. As for Smiling San Sheng, he didn't seem to belong to the western region. Being so far apart made it impossible to keep Dole safe. No matter how strong, there was nothing he could do. Killing a Golden Core realm cultivator was so simple, especially for those sects in the western region. So many had died because of Dole this time. If they couldn't find Smiling San Sheng, they would target Dole. Guan Zhongfei sighed as he watched Dole recover. He hoped that Dole could escape this problem. However, there was too much for him to handle. As a Golden Core realm cultivator, he was just too ordinary. Jiang Hao started to inspect the storage treasures of the other people. He had picked up about 12 or 20 storage treasures. He wondered how many spirit stones he would get. These people had decent cultivation realms, had influential backgrounds, and were individuals with considerable influence in their sects. He checked the first storage treasure. Whose is this? There were several pills and several spirit stones. That was it. Does it belong to Feng Hua's avatar? It shouldn't be anyone else besides her. The second one was the same. It probably belonged to another avatar. Feng Hua didn't like to let others benefit. There were some items in the third storage treasure but not much. There was a peculiar 9-ringed blade. It was a Golden Core realm treasure. There were also 3,000 spirit stones and some Golden Core pills. The fourth one had 11,000 spirit stones, a primordial spirit realm spirit sword, and numerous pills. Jiang Hao continued to go through the storage treasures. He found that these people had some spirit stones. After examining all the storage treasures, Jiang Hao realized he had struck a gold mine. There were a total of 226,894 spirit stones. There were 3 Soul Ascension Realm magical treasures, 5 Primordial Soul Realm magical treasures, 9 Golden Core Realm magical treasures, and various ordinary treasures. These items were priceless. Aside from the pills, there were numerous cultivation techniques as well. These could only be sold as spirit herbs. None were worth keeping in Jiang Hao's collection. 226,000 spirit stones. How should I spend it? He didn't dare to sell the magical treasures yet. He would attempt to sell them when he went overseas or to the eastern region. Otherwise, he would be targeted easily. It wasn't worth the risk. If he sold all the magical treasures, Hong Yuye would be able to drink September Spring every time she visited. Using all the spirit stones for some high-grade spirit herbs was also a good choice. However, now that he had advanced to the Immortal Ascension platform, the effectiveness of even high-grade spirit herbs would diminish. He didn't know how many blue bubbles 100 spirit herbs would bring him. Presently, he had 20,000 spirit stones on hand. He had picked up 226,000 more. He also had 120,000 spirit stones from selling ores. That totaled 360,000 spirit stones. However, 120,000 spirit stones needed to be shared with the others. There would still be spirit stones to be earned in the future. Having so many spirit stones suddenly made Jiang Hao feel a bit weird. He didn't know what to think. He had never received so many spirit stones before. He remained in place for a long time. Then, he got up and went to mine. He asked Guan Zhongfei to look after Dole. 1 month later, Jiang Hao walked out of the mine with a desolate look. The earnings had drastically decreased. There had only been 7 blue bubbles in a month. Previously, there used to be 15 or 16. At this rate, it would take 2 or 3 years of mining to advance to the middle stage. Advancing further would be even slower. However, compared to others, it was still astonishing that he had reached this state. At 36 years old, he was at the early stage of the Immortal Ascension platform. He didn't dare reveal this to others. Although he had surpassed the top 10 disciples of the sect and even most disciples beyond that, it was still not enough. Even a simple branch master could end his life. It would be better to wait and get stronger. Is Dole awake? Jiang Hao handed over the oars to Guan Zhongfei. No, Guan Zhongfei said. Dole had recovered. Jiang Hao had given him many spirit herbs, and now, they were just waiting for the purple aura to awaken his golden core. His cultivation had been affected, but luckily, his realm remained intact. He would recover fairly quickly. Despite having so many spirit herbs and even the protection of the purple aura around his heart meridian, it barely maintained his cultivation base. It was evident that Dole's injuries were severe. After sending Guan Zhongfei off to sell the ores, Jiang Hao received a message on his stone tablet. There was a gathering tonight. It's been so long. Finally. Jiang Hao sighed. There was a chance he could save Dole. But he could only do his best. He could only do what he could. The last gathering hadn't revealed anything significant. However, it was best to review what they had discussed before and prepare. Outside the blood-tide forest, the woman in black robes appeared. Esteemed seniors, you can go in and take a look. If the information is correct, Jiang Xiaoli should be inside. At that moment, the 2 men gazed at the blood-tide forest and frowned. They felt something strange about this forest. The aura inside was chaotic, as if something terrible was trying to break out. But upon careful consideration, there didn't seem to be anything outwardly wrong. Is this really the Foundation establishment area? Hixing asked. He felt that this place was bizarre. His task was to capture Jiang Xiaoli. However, this didn't seem like a place where Jiang Xiaoli would stay. The corpse realm only has one Foundation establishment area. This is the place, said the woman in black confidently. Let's go and take a look, He Lian said. He Lian appeared to be in his 40s and looked sturdier. He Xing, in his late 20s, showed no hint of fear. They couldn't afford to fail this mission. It was just a Foundation establishment realm cultivator. If they couldn't capture her, then who in the entire corpse realm could? The 2 entered the blood-tide forest. The woman in black stood outside. She turned and smiled as she looked into the distance. After that, she followed them inside. She wanted to see Jiang Xiao Li begging for mercy helplessly as she was captured. She planned to send that to Jiang Hao if he was still alive. She hadn't received any news from him yet. It would be a pity if he were dead. After all, she needed Jiang Hao. Chapter 786. Protecting the West alone in the blood-tide forest, everyone felt unsafe. They sensed that the current forest was different from what they had known before. This place was very stable before. It was calm and not too terrifying. Even if there was something, it was easily avoidable. It was different now. There were many threats. The anomalies that only happened at night were now visible in the day. The beasts that only emerged at night before were rampant in the daytime. They didn't even know how to evade them, especially since they emitted an eerie aura as if they would devour everything around them. The most frightening part was that they couldn't escape, no matter how many times they tried. Among those who were most distressed were Xiao Li and her 3 companions. "Why can't we find any food lately?" Xiao Li pouted and patted her stomach. The woman in white, Bai Shuang, looked at the girl before her and felt horrified. Upted on BX0vel. CM during this time, Xiao Li had been intimidating everyone. Anyone who provoked her ended up dead with a single punch. Yet she seemed unaware of it. She wondered why people fled when they saw her. When a blue light emanated from her, she was unstoppable. If she got angry, the consequences were severe. But when she wasn't angry, she was easy to talk to. She would listen intently to their suggestions, except when it came to destroying the cannibalistic forest. Because of the disappearance of that forest, things changed. The ecosystem was broken. It seemed like something was about to emerge from the ground. They sensed it. The terrifying aura made them collapse to the ground in fear. But when Xiao Li muttered something toward the ground, that thing retreated. It seemed afraid to offend her. They increasingly felt that a little devil who feared neither heaven nor earth had arrived. "Shall we change places and go find my senior brother?" Xiao Li suddenly asked. "Leave from here?" Bai Shuang hesitated. "Where should we go?" Xiao Li pointed in a direction. "Over there. We can ask as we go. If they know the beast, then they are friendly. If not, they're not friends, and we do not need to respect them." The 3 were speechless. Who was this beast? They dared not ask. But soon, someone did. After they set off, they met someone who asked who the beast was. Xiao Li said, "A great demon of heaven and earth. A chaotic powerhouse." Only then did the other person understand why Xiao Li could act so recklessly. It turned out she had the support of a great demon of heaven and earth. Fortunately, she looked like a child, so as long as they were nice to her, there wouldn't be a problem. So, they said they knew the beast she spoke of. As friends, they naturally gave her directions. "The Golden Core area is around that way," said a man and pointed toward Moon Lake. "It's usually near Moon Lake." Xiao Li politely thanked them and continued with Bai Shuang and the others. She was very excited. As long as she found senior brother Tiank, she wouldn't have to worry about starving. After much effort, the few who were already on the edge finally left the blood-tide forest. The moment Xiao Li left, the forest seemed to relax. Soon, the eerie aura gradually diminished. Looking back at the blood-tide forest, the 3 couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. They felt that the forest was much more dangerous than the Golden Core area. Of course, the danger was solely because of Jiang Xiao Li. Wherever Xiao Li went, danger followed. They were curious whether Jiang Xiao Li's senior brother could handle it. A Golden Core realm cultivator probably couldn't. The 3 exchanged doubtful glances. They felt like they were walking a path of no return. Once they did, it would be difficult to return to their area. Without Jiang Xiao Li, they couldn't move an inch. At midnight, Jiang Hao activated the yin-yang bracelet. He simultaneously activated the heavenly cauldron. Then, he entered the stone tablet. When he arrived, the others were already in position. After exchanging greetings with Senior Dan Yuan, the 5 of them sat cross-legged on the floor. "Any issues with your cultivation?" No one spoke. Their cultivation progress wasn't that rapid. Any news about the Saints' pages? Dan Yuan asked. I heard they are at the Thousand Spirit Lake in the west, but many have gone there with no results, Zhong said. Members from the Bright Moon sect seem to be searching for the pages as well. They cast a divination and found that these pages are extremely unique, challenging to detect, and even more challenging to comprehend. All they know is that the pages have surfaced, but they're unsure of what exactly it is or whether someone has acquired them, Xing said. He had examined the pages and found discrepancies. The pages seemed quite extraordinary. There's some information from overseas too. Rumor has it that there have been changes in the Abyssal Sea. People from the Heavenly Tower suggest that the pages might be there, Liu said. There's no information from the southern region. Gui shook her head. Many things existed in the south, yet it remained the region with the least information available. Jiang Hao remained silent. The others looked at him. However, he didn't speak. So, everyone paid him no further attention. These ancient pages seem to be somewhat different this time. They deserve some attention, Dan Yuan said. The others nodded. It appeared that these ancient pages were indeed unique. After Senior Dan Yuan finished discussing the new tasks, it was time for the group to exchange information. I'm still interested in the location of that person, Zhong said. Is the person more important or the book? Jiang Hao asked. His voice was low. The book is more important, but without finding that person, we won't get the book, Zhong said firmly. I have the book, Jiang Hao said. Zhong was surprised but didn't question him because Jing was the sort of person who had made the Astronomical Academy obey his suggestions with just a few words. Can I know the content of the book? Zhong asked. Sure. Jiang Hao nodded. He then looked at Senior Dan Yuan. Soon, a stone tablet appeared before them. Jiang Hao left all the content of the ancient and modern book on it, including the final sentence. After she finished reading it, Zhong was shocked. This wasn't the same ancient and modern book she had read, but she knew that this book was definitely not fake. This one seemed more important, perhaps even authentic. She was excited. If she obtained the genuine one, the rewards would be unimaginable. She hesitated. What price do I need to pay? Ensure the safety and well-being of someone in the Western region, at least temporarily. Can you make sure they aren't targeted by other sects? Jiang Hao said. This surprised the others. Who exactly was this person who deserved such protection from Jing? Zhong was surprised, but she believed she could manage it. This request wasn't as valuable as the book anyway. Making sure someone was safe wasn't very difficult. Fine. I hope to obtain the physical copy of the book. No problem. But you'll need to retrieve it yourself or have someone else do it for you. Zhong was quite puzzled. We haven't used a teleportation channel for trade with friend Jing yet. If needed, I can act as an intermediary, said Gui with a smile. However, I would require a small piece of information in return, like where the moon might appear next. She wanted to go and search for the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment to see if she could meet them. The southern region was getting dangerous, and she wished to get out of there. Chapter 787, A Curse and the Black Sea. Jiang Hao had no objections to Gui's suggestion. After all, he had encountered Gui several times before. Meeting her once more wouldn't make much of a difference. When they met, he would be Jiang Hao. They had very little to do with him anyway. So, there was no need to worry about anything. Gui knew the location of the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, so she wouldn't be reckless. Zhong also agreed to it. He was from a moderately huge sect. She hadn't heard the name before. Fortunately, the sect wasn't too far from her, so it wouldn't take much time. She didn't understand who or what the particular person had offended. Otherwise, Jing would never ask for protection for that person in exchange for something as valuable as the ancient and modern book. She felt the pressure of taking on such a responsibility. Jing and Gui were done with their trade. Somebody overseas wants to pass on a message to Wu Yang. Who among you has the time? Asked Liu. Gui looked at Jing and hesitated for a moment. What message? Upted on BX0vel. CM I heard that someone captured an elderly person intending to exchange them with Wu Yang for something, Liu said. I can go, Gui said. Since she was about to meet Jiang Hao anyway, it wouldn't be a problem to pass on a message. Jiang Hao remained silent. This kind of task didn't bother him much. Presently, he had nothing in particular to worry about overseas, so he didn't need Liu's help. As for Kai Tian, everything had been discussed long ago. If there were any changes, Liu would tell him. After that, they didn't have any more transactions. They began discussing various things happening around them. I heard that Shongan is lecturing at the Clear Sky School. During that time, a rainbow surrounded him. An aura as warm as the sun shone upon everyone. Some could even get close enough to talk to him, said Xing with a smile. But what puzzled everyone was that Shongan was facing away from them, and no one saw his true face. Nobody knows why, he said. Didn't you go and meet him? Liu asked curiously. I'm already on the way, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to meet him, Xing said with a smile. Can you ask Shongan something from me? Gui asked. Of course. Xing smiled softly. Ask him if there will be a chance for an opportunity when next time he advances, said Gui. Everyone understood that Gui had missed her chance last time. Xing agreed readily. He looked at the others. Do you have any questions you want to ask as well? What does the world look like from the eyes of a sage? Liu asked. Zhong thought for a moment. From the perspective of a sage, if someone intends to kill me, should I forgive them? Jiang Hao remained silent. He wanted to ask if sages ever lacked spirit stones. However, based on the mysterious impression he had left, he knew he couldn't ask such a silly question. I recently encountered people from the Shangguan family overseas and researched their curse. I found that the curse is alive, said Gui. Want to know what else I found? What? Liu asked. A sea. For some reason, the curse is now active. There must be a cause for it. When I observed the sea, it was entirely pitch black, like the Black Sea, Gui said with some trepidation. Fortunately, I escaped before it got dangerous. I'm not sure why I saw the sea instead of the person behind the curse. Black Sea. Jiang Hao was surprised. He hadn't expected the Shangguan family's curse to be connected to the Black Sea. Was this Black Sea related to the sea in the corpse realm? Jiang Hao couldn't be sure. However, no matter how he looked at it, this wasn't something he could involve himself in. It was better to avoid contact with them as much as possible. I've also heard that once the Shangguan family members enter the southern region, the Great Thousand God sect will subdue them. If not for the fact that the sect is withdrawing from the south at the moment, there would have been a huge fight, said Gui. They didn't know why these people wanted to fight. However, they were curious about what lay behind the curse. Unfortunately, they couldn't get any details. I recently heard about a senior at the Astronomical Academy who is said to be on par with the light. Some people are trying to find him everywhere and hoping to bring him back, Zhong said. Besides being in harmony with the light, he stood alone against the beast tide in the western desert. He sacrificed himself to protect the disciples of the Astronomical Academy. He was a true senior of the academy. That's why many are searching for him again, she said. Jiang Hao felt somewhat strange. It seemed like anyone powerful and connected to the academy was referred to as a senior, and those stronger than seniors were considered elders. He suspected that Jiyu Jin had joined the Astronomical Academy because of this. After discussing some more matters, the gathering came to an end. Jiang Hao withdrew from space. However, when he left, there was a slight delay. After that, he successfully returned to his body. Looking at the stone tablet again, he noticed it seemed considerably dimmer. What's going on? Jiang Hao didn't even have time to record the contents of the gathering. He found no issues with the stone tablet. It wasn't until he retracted the yin-yang bracelet that he noticed it had also dimmed slightly. He understood what was happening. There seemed to be a conflict between the stone tablet and the yin-yang bracelet. The stone was a karmic artifact, so theoretically, it shouldn't affect the yin-yang bracelet. After all, he was within the bracelet, and karma wouldn't break. It should have been the impact of the gathering. It looks like I need to be more cautious next time. Putting away both items, Jiang Hao took out a notebook to write down all he had learned from the gathering. Senior Dan Yuan's task still involved the ancient sage's page. This time, the pages seemed different somehow. Exchanged the ancient and modern book with Zhong for protection. Additionally, Gui would be coming to collect the book and to pass on a message to Wu Yang. Xing wanted to ask Shong and some questions. The Astronomical Academy was searching for a senior, one who is in harmony with the light. The Shangguan family's curse overseas seems connected to the Black Sea, possibly related to the corpse realm. The Shangguan family had a conflict with the Great Thousand God sect. Jiang Hao didn't write that down. He suspected the reason was Feng Hua. Dole murmured something as Jiang Hao finished writing. Jiang Hao turned to look. Dole's eyes fluttered open. Dole, you're awake. Where am I? Dole seemed to have recovered from his injuries. He was a Conrusia. A senior saved you and brought you back. He healed your injuries, Jiang Hao said. A senior? Dole found it hard to believe. Which senior saved me? I don't know. Jiang Hao shook his head. But the rumors have been going on, and they say it was me. I guess they couldn't find anyone to pin the rumors on, so they used my name. Isn't that dangerous for you? Dole was concerned. Jiang Hao nodded. That's why I can only stay here and continue mining. After resting for 2 days, Dole went out to sell the ores. Jiang Hao watched him leave but wasn't particularly worried about him. The real danger was in the west. For now, he could peacefully mine here. Chapter 788, The Appearance of the Demoness. October. There wasn't much to do in the corpse realm. On this day, Jiang Hao continued mining as usual. He had received an additional 30,000 spirit stones from Dole. There were a total of 150,000 spirit stones to be divided. He alone had over 240,000. He was extraordinarily wealthy. To be safe, he asked Guan Zhongfei to ask around for September-spring. It had been a while since Hong Yuye visited, and he didn't know what new demands she might have when she finally did. It was better to be prepared. Clang, clang. Jiang Hao kept swinging the pickaxe. He suddenly felt something strange. He turned to look behind, and his heart almost stopped. At some point, a red and white figure appeared behind him. She looked at him intently. Upted on BX0vel. CM, keep going. What do you think I'm here for? Hong Yuye said teasingly. Jiang Hao didn't dare to act rashly. Her sudden appearance caught him off guard. When exactly had she appeared? Fortunately, there hadn't been any fluctuations around. Senior, greetings. He couldn't mine anymore. Why did you come here to mine? Hong Yuye asked. To earn spirit stones, Jiang Hao said. Is that so? Hong Yuye said. Didn't earn much this time either. Not exactly, Jiang Hao said. I earned 40,000 spirit stones this time. It's enough to buy 2 packs of September-spring for you, senior. Oh. Hong Yuye was surprised. You bought September-spring already? It's not easy to find in the corpse realm, but I've told someone to ask around. I have prepared red azure tea. He indeed had prepared red azure tea. Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao for a long while. Finally, she asked, what's your cultivation realm now? Middle stage of the golden core realm, Jiang Hao said. Middle stage? Hong Yuye chuckled. I thought you were already in the late stage. She stepped outside. Jiang Hao collected his things and quickly caught up. Have you attended any gatherings recently? Hong Yuye asked along the way. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. Hong Yuye stopped and extended her hand. Jiang Hao hesitated for a moment. Then, he handed over the notebook. Give me the stone tablet, Hong Yuye said as she received the book. Jiang Hao didn't dare to hesitate and immediately handed over the stone tablet. Hong Yuye frowned. You're quite adept at stirring things up, she said. Jiang Hao lowered his head. It was difficult to explain, so he remained silent. A red light enveloped the stone tablet, and the tablet gradually recovered. A rune entered the stone tablet. Before long, she returned the stone tablet to Jiang Hao. Hong Yuye flipped through the book. She asked Jiang Hao to explain. Currently, Senior Dan Yuan is focusing on the sage's pages. How much do you know about these pages? Jiang Hao asked. What about you? Hong Yuye asked. I've learned a bit from the ancient and modern book. It's said that when these pages appear, changes are inevitable. If it's ordinary, it's manageable. However, unpredictable changes might occur. Things like the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl and Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment have all been recorded in these pages, Jiang Hao said truthfully. The ancient pages are indeed very special, and there are many rumors. But no one knows their true origins, Hong Yuye said calmly. Should we search for them? Jiang Hao asked. Do you want to search for them? Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao and smiled. Are you protecting someone in the West because of this? Senior, your insight is as sharp as ever, he said. Hong Yuye chuckled. Tell me about your plans. Dole is a very useful person. My relationship with him is good. Moreover, his luck is extraordinary, so has bound to achieve something in the West. Now is the perfect time to invest in him. Besides, I suspect there's a plan to end everything in the West, and the people from the Great Thousand God sect are paying attention. We have Kai Tian overseas. In the West, we have Dole. If there's an opportunity, I will arrange to have some people in the East and North. This will provide us with enough channels to find the person behind the stone tablet. We are only lacking a bit of time, Jiang Hao said earnestly. Hong Yuye was astonished. She remained silent for a long time. You're truly dedicated. Jiang Hao bowed his head. I'll do anything for you, senior. Your beast can't compare to you in lies. Jiang Hao lowered his head and didn't say anything. Hong Yuye didn't press him further. At that point, she stepped outside. A table and chairs appeared. She sat down and asked Jiang Hao to make red azure tea. Jiang Hao didn't hesitate. Red azure tea was no problem to brew. Hong Yuye looked at the book. What about the name Jiyu Jin left for you? Jiang Hao extended his hand and pointed at the book. It's here. Hong Yuye glanced at it but didn't say much. Jiang Hao was puzzled. What did she mean by it? Is there something wrong with this? He asked hesitantly. Keep it. Aren't you planning to place some people in the West? Hong Yuye asked. With this, things will be much easier for you in the West. Jiang Hao was speechless. That name would surely bring a lot of trouble, but he didn't want to go through with it. However, with Hong Yuye saying so, he had no choice but to accept it. Do you know about the Black Sea? Hong Yuye asked. Yes. The Black Sea is in the corpse realm, Jiang Hao said. Have you seen it? Hong Yuye glanced at the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl in Jiang Hao's hand. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. How long do you plan to carry around that ominous thing? Hong Yuye asked. Well, Jiang Hao hesitated and put it away. Nothing happened. Sure enough, with Hong Yuye around, danger seemed to disappear. Have you been to the Black Sea, senior? Jiang Hao asked. No. Hong Yuye shook her head. The corpse realm is far from being as simple as one might think. Jiang Hao was surprised. If even Hong Yuye said so, this place must indeed be somewhat special. He had studied the ancient language before but hadn't found a suitable translation. Translating it the other way around didn't seem to work either. He wasn't sure why. Otherwise, he would know what they were talking about. Perhaps people were living in the corpse realm in hiding. The ancient pages can be sought after. Knowing their content can give a glimpse into the next era, whether good or bad, Hong Yuye said. Senior, where do you think the ancient pages might appear? Jiang Hao poured a cup of tea for Hong Yuye. Logically, they should appear in the West, but based on the information from Xing and the others, the pages might appear unexpectedly. Senior, is it the appearance of the ancient pages that causes things to be recorded, or were things destined to happen, and the ancient pages just predict them in advance? Chapter 789. A person not to be trifled with. What exactly are the pages of the ancient book? Jiang Hao wasn't certain. But from the information he gained, they were definitely not simple. He didn't understand why some were items like the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, while others were ordinary things like cooking recipes and so on. It seemed there was no distinction between the immortal and mortal. Anything could appear on the pages. Did the legends come before the pages, or did the pages come before the legends? Hong Yuye asked. Weren't some of them just ordinary things? Jiang Hao wondered why they were all legendary. Ordinary things? Hong Yuye asked. Jiang Hao mentioned things like culinary skills that he had seen on the pages. Hong Yuye asked, before delicious food appeared, what did people eat? Before magnificent buildings rose, where did people live? Before weaving emerged, what did people wear? Before the appearance of paper, what did people use to write on? Those who cultivate have their own world and perspective. But that doesn't mean that only things related to cultivators are legendary. With time, you will discover that all living things experience legendary phenomena. Each legend accumulates to form the present world. And now, people consider culinary skills ordinary because they have long lived amidst legends. Jiang Hao understood that the appearance of pages from the ancients was actually influencing the world. The things recorded on the pages of the ancients already exist. Even if there were no pages, those things would eventually happen someday. The appearance of the pages accelerates the appearance of what's recorded and even provides methods to counter it. In other words, the pages of the ancients record various things and wait for the destined person to retrieve them, Hong Yuye said. After thinking for a moment, Jiang Hao realized that it all made sense. It was when history reached a bottleneck and was about to usher in change that the sage's page would appear. It would inform others about what the change would be. Whoever obtained them could step ahead of others and lead. But whether one could achieve something like that was another matter entirely. Whether it was the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl or the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment, the same rules applied. These were things that couldn't be achieved by individuals alone, even if they obtained the pages. Even if one hid the pages, one couldn't prevent the things that were destined from happening. The Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl and the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment would still have emerged. The sage's page had the upper hand. Many were naturally interested in those pages. After finishing the book, Hong Yuye returned it to Jiang Hao. Do you think the 100 Nights curse is related to the corpse realm, senior? Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuye glanced at him but said nothing. Instead, she drank her tea. Jiang Hao also sat down and poured himself a cup. How long have you been here? Hong Yuye asked. I arrived in June. It's now October. It's been more than 4 months, Jiang Hao said. Do you plan to continue mining and earning spirit stones? Hong Yuye asked. Of course. Serving you is my priority, senior, said Jiang Hao. After hesitating for a moment, he said, while I was cultivating in seclusion inside, I heard the sound of waves. I don't know where it came from. Hong Yuye looked at the mountain range. Do you want to enter that sea? It's not that. I'm just curious, Jiang Hao said. It wasn't necessary to enter. If fate allowed it, he could go in and take a look. If not, then he could forget about it. It won't be long. In a while, you will be able to enter that sea, Hong Yuye said. Jiang Hao was surprised. It meant that the sea was the corpse sea after all. He just didn't know if he could see the founder of the Divine Corpse sect. The other party hadn't left any traces at Heavenly Steely Mountain, which was regrettable. Asking them help him understand what the corpse realm was all about. It could also clarify whether it was possible to enter through teleportation. The two didn't speak again but silently drank their tea. After half a pot of tea was finished, Hong Yuye turned to Jiang Hao. Is Xiao Li also here? Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. Aren't you going to go and find her? Xiao Li is not a child anymore. Eventually, she has to learn to go out on her own. She's not a child anymore. Yeah. Hong Yuye looked at the person in front of her and then pointed into the void. A red light shot across. No one knew where it led to or what it intended to do. Dole once again visited Moon Lake, but he no longer sold ores openly. He was much more cautious than before. The only regret was not having a convenient treasure to conceal himself. Otherwise, it would have been much easier. He possessed numerous ores which were priceless. In his lifetime, he had never seen so many spirit stones. Although he hadn't sold them yet, He already treated them as spirit stones. After a long time, he saw a late-stage golden core realm cultivator, whose cultivation wasn't as strong. The person seemed to possess some spirit stones. After a brief hesitation, he emerged from hiding. The other person was startled. "Friend, please don't be afraid. I mean no harm," Dole hurriedly said. The man, who had been cautious, couldn't believe it was Dole. He instinctively stepped back and hastily said, "Friend, let's talk things out." He knew very well that since the appearance of this person, there hadn't been any powerful figures daring to act brazenly at Moon Lake. Everyone who targeted Dole had died, no matter their origin or opportunities. Every person was mercilessly slain. It was all because they had offended this person. Therefore, among the people at Moon Lake, Dole was feared. "Friend, I really have no ill intentions. There's no need to be so frightened," Dole said kindly. Do you have something to say to me?" the man asked. "I wanted to ask if you're interested in buying ores." "I have some, I'll take it. I'll buy everything." Dole sold the ores in a daze and earned about 3,000 spirit stones. This puzzled Dole. The man looked terrified of him. After that, he met several more people. It was the same with everybody. They bought many ores from him. They gave him all their spirit stones in exchange. Dole felt like he was robbing people of their money. In the distance, two people observed Dole. Their cultivation realms were extremely high, and Dole, at the Golden Core realm, naturally couldn't sense them. They were both women. One was clad in tiger and leopard fur and exuded a wild aura, while the other looked graceful and elegant. "That really is Dole from our sect," said the woman in animal fur. "Yeah, it's him." "Is it true that whoever offends him gets slaughtered?" asked the graceful woman. "Didn't you notice? The late-stage Golden Core realm cultivator who bought the ores was actually at the primordial spirit realm. They dared not offend Dole. It seemed the rumors were true. Here at Moon Lake, Dole was not someone to be trifled with. "It seems that quite a few people have their eyes on him," said the woman in animal fur. "He's doomed once he leaves. Should we warn him? If it is possible, perhaps we could advise him to stay here. There might be some hope here," said the graceful woman. "Forget it. He has offended many great sects. I heard that most of the deceased were from major sects. If someone suspects that we know him somehow, there'll be a disaster." "That's true, but doing nothing makes me feel a bit guilty." "Well, pay attention after he leaves." Outside, Yang Yuezhi from the Astronomical Academy found Jing Dajiang. Chapter 790. The Real Corpse Realm. The backyard of the Astronomical Academy. Yang Yuezhi hesitated for a long time before deciding to leverage the Academy's power. Although Dole's sect seemed ordinary, the person holding the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl had asked for his protection. Her individual strength might not be enough. Since she sought that particular book, she needed to ensure everything went flawlessly. Failure would have dire consequences. Failing to acquire the book would affect future trade as well. After all, she had read the contents of the book. Moreover, she had already intended to use the promise made by that senior. If she was delayed, it would be too late for regrets. She decided to use her trump card. She wasn't fond of surprises. "Young lady, here again? What do you intend for us this time?" Jing Dajiang sat under a tree in a reclining chair. Yang Yuezhi bowed respectfully. "Senior, you promised me that you would fulfill one request for me." "Yes. If you want to become my disciple, I can arrange for someone to teach you." Jing Dajiang smiled at her. "So, have you decided what you want?" "Yes, I have decided, but it might be a bit troublesome for you," Yang Yuezhi said. After a short while, Jing Dajiang furrowed his brow as he looked at the student in front of him. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely." Yang Yuezhi nodded. After some time, Yang Yuezhi left the backyard and departed from the Astronomical Academy. She headed in the direction of the Mountain River Valley sect. Half a month later, she reached the sect's premises, but she couldn't find Dole. After asking around, she found out that he had entered the corpse realm. She was surprised. He hadn't even left the corpse realm, so why was Jing trying to protect him? After thinking for a moment, she understood. Jing was in the corpse realm too. He knew that Dole would be in danger after coming out of that realm. But why did he want to protect him? It was impossible for her to guess. Dole must be valuable. Otherwise, Jing wouldn't be trying to protect him. It seems he'll have to wait here. Yang Yuezhi picked up a book and began reading. This book was about the methods of cultivation that she couldn't comprehend before. Yet now, as she read the book, she started to understand it. Suddenly, she entered a state of meditation. Half a month had passed. Jiang Hao noticed that Hong Yuye wasn't planning on leaving. He had no idea what she was here for. He couldn't even mine anymore. He didn't even dare to tend to the spirit herbs. He was afraid of absorbing the spiritual energy accidentally. Once or twice might be okay, but with frequent occurrences, somebody would surely suspect him. Moreover, his tea supply was almost depleted. He didn't know what to do. Although he had many spirit stones, it didn't matter if he couldn't find a place to buy tea. He couldn't brew tea for her. Suddenly, he heard the waves again. Gradually, the sound grew louder as if something was being crushed. Jiang Hao turned to look at the mountain range. The sound was coming from within. The corpse sea. He was surprised. He hadn't expected to get lucky. He had encountered the corpse sea. Jiang Hao hadn't imagined the corpse sea would be within a mountain range. It was no wonder only a few people had seen it. At that moment, Hong Yuye got up. "You want to enter that sea? Let's go." Jiang Hao was speechless. With Hong Yuye by his side, he would be much safer. However, there were many things they couldn't do. There was always some gain and a certain kind of loss. Perhaps the greatest advantage of such a place might be encountering countless treasures that had remained untouched throughout the years. Perhaps just brushing past it might mean a lot of benefits. However, even if it were so, he had to give them up. He feared he would get white bubbles. Blue and green bubbles wouldn't compromise his location. However, white bubbles might not be so safe. After that, the two walked into the mine. It looked like a normal cave to mine in. However, the further they went, the louder the sound of waves became. It was as if they were at a huge seaside. After walking for a hit, Tian Han noticed the ground becoming damp. Moreover, the passage seemed to have changed. The narrow passages from the time he had mined here were gone. They were replaced by a huge, spacious pathway. After a few steps, an endless sea came into view. Jiang Hao stood at the edge of the passage and sensed the bottomless abyss beneath him. It was eerie. Why is this sea so eerie? The corpse realm is full of vitality. This place is grim and lifeless. After observing for a while, Jiang Hao realized that he was at a cliff within the cave. The sea spanned below. Jiang Hao didn't dare to fly out on his sword recklessly. He extended his senses and ensured there wasn't any problem in the surroundings. He intended to go to the sea surface. "Senior, is this sea dangerous?" he asked Hong Yuye. However, she didn't respond. Fortunately, the path didn't look too slippery. He could go down and take a look. As for finding the founder of the Divine Corpse sect, he didn't know how to begin. Jiang Hao took a step forward and appeared above the corpse sea. At that moment, he could see the cliff above. It was not a very tall mountain peak. "Senior, shall we go up and take a look?" Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuye looked at him without saying anything. It seemed like he had to figure this out on his own. After that, Jiang Hao arrived at the top of the mountain. Only then did he realize that the mountain was connected to an endless continent, where everything was desolate and lifeless as far as the eye could see. And the vast sea in front of him gave off a similar aura. If the corpse sea was ahead, then what was the land behind? He felt a bit lost. The entrance below was connected to the present corpse realm. "This should be the coast of the corpse sea," Jiang Hao said. He remembered that the founder of the sect would be here, but he didn't know how to find him. Boom! Suddenly, something rumbled and echoed in the distance. Jiang Hao turned toward the direction and saw a person fleeing. He was being chased by 3 others. "Friend, please save me," said the middle-aged man. He was injured and flew over to this side without stopping. "Where are you escaping, you demon?" The 3 people behind him yelled angrily. Jiang Hao watched as the man got closer and sighed. Then, he unsheathed his sword. As the man approached, he swung his sword. He used the first form of the heavenly blade, moon slaying. Swish. The man seeking help was killed with one slash. The three pursuers were momentarily stunned. This sudden turn of events shocked them. Jiang Hao turned to them. "Didn't you call him a demon? I helped you get rid of him. Now, will you do me a favor in exchange?" The three people were stunned. "Friend, you're right." One of them nodded in agreement. "Were you all here before, or did you just arrive?" Jiang Hao asked. These people made him feel strange. They seemed to carry an aura of death as if they were inhabitants of this place. He wasn't sure if that aura latched onto whoever entered this place, or if they had to stay here a while for it to develop. Perhaps the reason he didn't have it might be because of Hong Yuye's presence. He wasn't certain if it was an illusion, but he felt that this was the real corpse realm. Chapter 791, Build a House You. Under the dark and gloomy sky, Jiang Hao felt a bit dejected. It seemed like there was no hope here. Having an unstable mind here would certainly lead to some problems. These four people were definitely together. He didn't understand why they would fight each other in this way. The person rushing for help had no injuries at all. Although the people behind were making threats, they didn't use their full strength. Even the person who was escaping didn't use any strength. These four individuals had cultivation realms in the soul ascension realm, but all of them were suppressed to the early and middle stages of the golden core realm. This was obviously a mockery. There was no need to be polite with them. The three looked at Jiang Hao. Many thoughts surged in their minds, but eventually, they decided to answer his questions. The leader was a middle-aged man wearing a blue robe. After thinking for a moment, he said, "We accidentally entered here some time ago." "How long ago was that?" Jiang Hao asked. "About a month ago," the middle-aged man said. A month ago? Jiang Hao realized that the corpse sea had appeared in other places before. This time, it had appeared in the 1,000-feet mountain. "Where did you enter from?" Jiang Hao asked. These people were obviously running to the outside. It made him suspect that they weren't relying on the sea itself. "At the seaside," the middle-aged man said. "And then? What have you been doing for the past month?" Jiang Hao asked. Something was obviously wrong here. Didn't they leave as soon as possible? The three looked at each other. Finally, the middle-aged man said, "We felt that this place was unusual and wanted to explore a bit, but we didn't discover anything." "You aren't leaving?" Jiang Hao looked at them. Jiang Hao knew they were lying about the last part. They must have obtained something. For him, it didn't matter what they discovered. He had no intention of taking it for himself. "We can't leave." The middle-aged man sighed. "The entrance we used has disappeared. Aren't you worried?" Jiang Hao asked. This place was strange, yet these people didn't seem concerned about it. When the three heard the question, they didn't take it seriously. The younger one among them said, "We've been here for a few months already. Maybe we'll be able to leave in another 2 or 3 months. At worst, it might be 4 or 5 months. Jiang Hao recalled something. In the corpse realm, one could respond to the heaven, earth, and human yuan formations to leave. But, Jiang Hao looked up at the sky. He wasn't sure if this place was the same as the outside. If it were him, he definitely wouldn't wait. There might be unknown dangers in this place that he couldn't fight. He had checked just now, and the entrance on the cliff was still there. Apart from the entrance, he had hidden subrings outside, so he wouldn't be trapped here. If there was any danger, he could just leave. As for whether the heaven, earth, and human yuan formation would work here, he thought they would work just as well. After all, there had never been news of people coming to the corpse sea and not being able to return. Some people knew about the corpse sea, which meant that people had visited this place before. This place should be special because it seemed like the founder of the sect had stayed here and left a mark. "Have you been to any other places inside this one?" Jiang Hao asked. "There are mountains, rivers, and streams here, but each place shows signs of desolation. There are also many strange forces that we don't dare to touch due to our low cultivation," the middle-aged man said. Jiang Hao nodded and asked if they had a map of this place. He realized there weren't maps circulating outside about this place, which made him curious. It didn't seem so difficult to enter, and it was fairly easy to leave. So, why were there no maps here? At that moment, Jiang Hao communicated with his subring again and was relieved that it still worked. So, he didn't have to worry too much about it. The three didn't have a map but claimed that they could draw one. After a while, Jiang Hao received a roughly drawn map. It mostly depicted forests, mountains, rivers, lakes, and swamps. There were also some caves. The caves were dangerous during the day and safer at night. They didn't know what the danger was. After all, those who went inside had disappeared. Jiang Hao asked them if they had seen any other people here. The three shook their heads. Jiang Hao didn't pay much attention to it and decided to look around the coastline. Perhaps he might find something. As for mountains, rivers, and streams, there was no need for him to go and explore. From what he knew, the founder was on the coastline. With his storage treasure in hand, Jiang Hao rode his sword toward the coastline. The three individuals also breathed a sigh of relief when they saw him leave. When Jiang Hao glanced back, he wondered if everything had been an illusion. Against the gloomy background, the three individuals appeared even more integrated into it. They looked as though they were a part of a black and white painting. The strangeness made him wary. He wasn't sure if that was happening to him too. The three people didn't seem to be aware of it. Perhaps they believed they had no issues. They just waited for the corpse realm to near its end so they could leave. That was the most terrifying part. They walked the path of the dead, yet thought they were part of life. They are dead. Before Jiang Hao could finish his words, Hong Yuye answered. Her words sent a shiver down Jiang Hao's spine. He couldn't understand it. He took out the storage treasure he had just picked up and opened it. It was completely empty. What's going on? He found it hard to believe. It couldn't possibly be all empty. Someone must have taken it, Hong Yuye said. Jiang Hao felt odd. If they were dead, how were they walking around like the living? The corpse realm seemed even stranger than he had anticipated. This also meant that there were other people here. Jiang Hao rode his sword along the coastline. He observed the changes in his body because he feared that he might also assimilate into this dead and desolate place without noticing anything. Once his aura changed, he would leave this place. Otherwise, the consequences would be unpredictable. After some time, they appeared on the beach, where some houses had sprung up. These houses had simple, thatched roofs. He noticed that people were living in those huts. There were probably 7 or 8 individuals in total. They probably didn't belong to one group. 4 thatched huts represented 4 factions. Jiang Hao's arrival caught their attention. There were 3 women and 4 men. Each of them was in the Return to Void realm. They didn't emit an aura that the previous 4 individuals had. Moreover, they were carrying magical treasures for protection. They were members of the Divine Corpse sect. Jiang Hao saw a man and a woman in the distance. He could tell they were proficient in the corpse dissolving technique. 2 other women exuded the great aura of the grand universe. From the remaining 3 people, he had never seen the 2 of them. The last one was dressed as a scholar. They seemed related to the Astronomical Academy. Why were they living here? Are you also here to find someone? Asked the man who was dressed like a scholar. Yes, said Jiang Hao. He wasn't sure if they were all looking for the same person. Your cultivation doesn't seem very high, but surely, you have something special to be able to come here. I advise you, friend, to build a house here. It's going to ram soon, said the scholar-looking man. Chapter 792, Offending the Demoness. You. Build a house. Jiang Hao was puzzled. However, seeing all the people building their houses, he decided to follow suit and build one too beside the scholarly-looking man. Hong Yuye remained silent. A tea table had appeared out of nowhere. Jiang Hao brewed a pot of tea for her. It was the last batch of tea. After that, he started building a house. He initially planned to build a rain pavilion. However, seeing others build something sturdy, he decided to build a better one. Fortunately, None of these people seemed to want to make a move against him. "Friend, which sect do you belong to?" asked the scholarly-looking man. "I am from the Astronomical Academy." "Im smiling San Sheng," said Jiang Hao. Saying so, he continued building the house. "Friend, who are you looking for here?" asked the scholar. At that moment, Jiang Hao glanced at the two women. Their faces changed when he told the man that his name was Smiling San Sheng. It seemed they were people from the Great Thousand God sect. "An old man," Jiang Hao said. In truth, he had no idea if the founder of the Divine Corpse sect was old or young. He didn't even know if they were a man or a woman. The scholar didn't say much and gazed at the sky. "It's going to rain soon. Friend, you better hurry." Jiang Hao thanked him and increased his speed. After a while, he finished constructing a wooden house. It was slightly better than other people's houses. He had some experience in building houses, after all. Soon, thunder rumbled in the sky. "It's about to rain," said the scholar as he entered his house and closed the door. Everyone else did the same. Jiang Hao glanced at Hong Yuye. Since she didn't react at all, he did the same as the others. Moments later, it thundered in full blast outside. Jiang Hao looked up at the ceiling. Though he couldn't see outside, he felt that the thunderstorm was quite fierce. Soon, drops of water fell on the thatched roof. The sound grew louder. Heavy rain poured down. Jiang Hao felt a peculiar aura. It was as if the outside was entirely covered by it. "Senior, what is that?" he asked the person sipping tea beside him. "The aura of the corpse realm," Hong Yuye said. "What happens if the rain touches us?" Jiang Hao asked. "We'll end up like the 4 individuals you met before." Hong Yuye sipped her tea. Suddenly, he heard the sound of waves again. This time, it felt as though the waves had surged closer. "It's getting closer. Find a place to take shelter from this heavy rain," said a loud voice from outside. Jiang Hao's eyes narrowed. He recognized the voice. They were the 3 people from before. "There's a house here. Let's ask the people inside for shelter," said a woman's voice. Thump, thump. Someone was knocking on Jiang Hao's door. "Friend, please open the door and let us in. We'll reward you generously," said the middle-aged man from before. Jiang Hao didn't respond. Soon, the knocking began again. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "Why are you knocking, friend?" "Please. We need shelter from the rain," came the reply from outside. "Where's the seawater now?" Jiang Hao asked. He could now hear someone knocking on the next door, but no one responded. "It's almost at the house," said the voice from outside. Jiang Hao sensed it. The seawater was rising. Soon, he heard other sounds from the sea, making him feel uneasy. "What's on the sea surface?" Jiang Hao asked. "There's a large ship." "What's on the ship?" "I don't know. I can't see it clearly. The rain is too heavy. If you open the door, you can see for yourself." "Is there anything else besides the ship?" Jiang Hao felt strange. "Please, there's a woman beside me." "A woman?" "Yes. A woman with 2 feet, 2 hands, and 2 eyes," Jiang Hao chuckled. "Oh really? That's quite a coincidence. I have someone similar here." Hong Yuye, who had been holding her teacup, paused for a moment and then turned to look at him. Jiang Hao felt a chill surrounding him. Fortunately, it quickly vanished. It was because he had responded as Smiling San Sheng. Naturally, he had to respond to the people even if it meant offending her. Luckily, nothing happened. He was curious about the ship outside. "The ship is coming. It's going to collide with the house." "Run!" cried someone. The people fled. Jiang Hao also felt a surge of impact. He gripped the heavenly blade. In case of danger, he would use it to pave the way and then connect to the subring outside to leave this place. However, just as the ship reached the wooden house, everything came to a halt. It was as though the ship had stopped right in front of them. An inexplicable oppressive aura accompanied it. "Are you here to find me?" said a voice from a distance. Jiang Hao was surprised. If he wasn't mistaken, this should be the founder of the Divine Corpse sect. Such a person was entirely beyond his ability to confront. He looked at Hong Yuye. She seemed indifferent. That made Jiang Hao feel a bit at ease. The rain has stopped. You can come out now, said the voice of an old man. Jiang Hao didn't rush to go out but waited for the others. As expected, the scholarly-looking man was the first to open his door. Following him was the voice of the ones from the Divine Corpse sect, the Great Thousand God sect, and finally, the two unknown individuals. Jiang Hao made sure they were all right before opening the door. He saw a large ship outside. Its hull was grey and looked ancient. The person at the helm seemed like an old man who had weathered storms at sea for years. The rain had stopped, and the people from before had disappeared somewhere. Meanwhile, the tide had risen almost to the front door. At the bow of the ship sat a white-haired old man. He looked down at the people below and nodded toward each of them. Divine Corpse sect, Great Thousand God sect, the End of All Things, and the Astronomical Academy. Finally, he looked at Jiang Hao and frowned. Middle stage of the Golden Core realm? Jiang Hao respectfully bowed. He felt that the man's words were strange. It had a certain implication between the lines. However, he didn't pay too much attention to it. Whether the other party could see through his false cultivation realm or not was of no concern to him. Come up. Guests are always welcome. The old man smiled. Seeing everyone else fly up, Jiang Hao also rode his sword up. Hong Yuye landed on the deck with him. Are you really the founder? The two from the Divine Corpse sect looked at the old man before them in disbelief. The old man didn't answer them. He chuckled. Call me Old Man Corpse C. I can't leave this place anymore. Senior, we came here to seek some guidance, said the woman from the Great Thousand God sect. You sought me out not to gain something but to get some answers. I won't answer just anyone's question, said the old man. Clarity removed the Corpse C as she sat at the ship's bow and smiled softly. What capabilities do you have? He looked at the two people who had fallen silent. He pointed toward the sea. How about this? I found a corpse there some time ago. You can try attacking it. Based on the kind of damage you can inflict, it'll decide how many questions it'll answer for you. Chapter 793. This Golden Core Realm Cultivator might get just one question, at most a corpse? Jiang Hao stood quietly on the deck and waited. With the lowest cultivation realm, he naturally had to wait until the end. However, it was surprising to find out that the two unknown individuals from before were actually from the End of All Things. It seemed they had considerable influence. Even the Great Thousand God sect was not lacking in resources. On the surface, they took on other people's tasks. It seemed they had plenty of their own tasks as well. Or perhaps, this was someone else's task, and they were just here to complete it. The ship began to enter the water and headed in an unknown direction. Jiang Hao watched the ship as it arrived in the boundless sea. The coastline of the Corpse Sea was no longer visible. The sky had regained a bit of blue in it. It didn't look as lifeless as before. The sea remained unchanged. A gentle breeze carried the smell of the ocean. Are you ready? Old Man Corpse Realm smiled. It seemed he hadn't seen so many people here for a long time. He looked happy. Everyone on the deck stood at their respective positions. On the far left were the two from the Divine Corpse sect. They were a pair of a man and a woman. Both were quite young. Next to them were the people from the Great Thousand God sect. The two looked rather ordinary. They wouldn't stand out in a crowd. Further on were two men. One was middle-aged and the other was young. Then, there was the scholarly-looking man from the Astronomical Academy. Jiang Hao stood at the far right. Hong Yuye was beside him. She didn't seem much fond of this place. We're ready, said the scholarly-looking man, Shujin. The Astronomical Academy is quite straightforward. Old Man Corpse C chuckled. He then waved his hand, and a vortex appeared in the sea. A man clad in battle armor leaped out from the water. He landed steadily on the deck and looked at everyone with hostility. Jiang Hao was speechless. The body seemed alive, but has not alive. Old Man Corpse C laughed. He simply retained his combat capabilities. If you don't attack him first, he won't make a move against you. After you attack, it's up to you to see how much you can injure him. If he retaliates and kills you, you'll become another body in the corpse sea. There's still time to withdraw. There is no need for that, said Shujin. The opponent does look strong, but we're ready. The opponent's physical prowess was indeed quite formidable. It wasn't difficult to win, but the challenge was to injure and damage the opponent as much as possible. Then, let's begin, Old Man Corpse Sea said. Shujin stepped forward but didn't attack immediately. He set up various formations and artifacts around the opponent. Finally, he launched his attack. Boom! A powerful force erupted and sent his opponent flying into the sea. Soon, the figure emerged from the water again. One of his arms was missing, and there were numerous injuries on his body. His combat prowess had diminished significantly. It didn't take long to subdue him, but doing more damage wasn't easy. The opponent seemed to grow stronger the more they fought. Injured by 30%. I'll answer 3 questions for you, Old Man Corpse Sea said. Then, the seawater enveloped Shujin. After some time, he was released. Shujin frowned. He seemed to be thinking of something. He bowed to Old Man Corpse Sea and stepped back. Jiang Hao felt a bit regretful that this had turned out to be a question and answer session. Otherwise, he would have gained some answers without anything in exchange and showed off at the gathering. Respected founder, we would like to ask about where Heavenly Steely Mountain goes when it disappears, said the man from the Divine Corpse sect. Why? Do you want to go and see? Old Man Corpse Sea didn't mind breaking the rules. We're looking for a senior brother who didn't come down from Heavenly Steely Mountain. He vanished, said the woman from the same sect. What was his cultivation realm? Old Man Corpse Sea asked. Middle stage of the primordial spirit realm, said the woman. Dead. Old Man Corpse Sea gestured toward the Corpse Sea. You can try looking there. Maybe he's somewhere in the Corpse Sea. All the bodies left behind end up in the Corpse Sea. Wouldn't they have entered another space along with Heavenly Steely Mountain? Asked the man. Another space? Old Man Corpse Sea chuckled. With just the primordial spirit realm? If a primordial spirit realm cultivator could do that, why would you be here asking me this? You could have stayed in Heavenly Steely Mountain to find out. The two fell silent. Then, where does Heavenly Steely Mountain go when it disappears? Founder, please. Before the two could finish their words, a light struck them. They exploded on the spot. All right, next, Old Man Corpse Sea said calmly. Everyone felt a chill run down their spine. At first, they thought Old Man Corpse Sea was easy to talk to, but strong individuals seemed unpredictable. Jiang Hao glanced at Hong Yuye. She, too, was formidable and powerful. It would be just as effortless for her to kill him. He needed to be more cautious in the future. Trying to reason with strong individuals or expecting goodwill from them was like dancing on the edge of a knife. It was a death wish. The 2 women from the Great Thousand God sect stepped forward. We want to give it a try. The same corpse faced them. It had returned to its original state. The 2 women had thought of imitating Shujin's strategy, but as soon as they approached, the corpse attacked them. The first one always has an advantage. The latter won't have the same benefit. Old Man Corpse Sea chuckled. It seemed he was playing with them to amuse himself. The 2 from the Great Thousand God sect used all their strength, but they only managed to inflict 20% damage. After asking 2 questions, they stepped back. Jiang Hao still didn't know what they had asked. Next were the 2 individuals from the end of all things. Even before they began, the corpse attacked. The more times it's attacked, the smarter it becomes, said Old Man Corpse Sea. At that moment, Jiang Hao felt that his chances were slim. The opponent was deliberately manipulating the situation. The 2 individuals from the end of all things inflicted only 10% damage. They were only allowed 1 question. However, that question alone took a long time. Jiang Hao felt that they were discussing something else. The individuals from the end of all things were also strategic. Perhaps, they were discussing whether to offer something to the old man in exchange. Friend, be careful. It might be quite dangerous for you, said Shujin kindly. Thank you, friend, Jiang Hao said gratefully. Is there anything you wish to ask, friend? I do have a few questions. Shujin, have you asked all your questions? Yes. I have a minor question. I want to ask if the corpse realm is related to our external world. If there are any extra questions, I can help you ask. Shujin had intended to accept a question from Jiang Hao if he had one. It seemed Jiang Hao was offering him the same thing. Jiang Hao was only at the Golden Core realm. He might only get one question, at most. It was impossible for him to have the chance to ask more questions. At that moment, the two individuals from the end of all things were done. It was now Jiang Hao's turn. Chapter 794. Senior, may I ask a few questions at Moon Lake? A huge beast ran as if it was fleeing for its life. But no matter how hard it struggled, it couldn't shake off the person on its back. Wow, we made it. Friends of the beast didn't deceive us. This monster is incredibly fast, Xiao Li said in excitement. Yes, you're right, Xiao Li, Bai Shuang shuddered. We've arrived at Moon Lake. Can we get down now? Being on the back of such a monster was a torment for them. They were eager to get off, but they couldn't. If they left Jiang Xiao Li, they would die while facing other powerful people. If they got off, the monster would probably attack them. If it couldn't kill Jiang Xiao Li, would it spare them? The safest approach was to please Jiang Xiao Li and persuade her to get off quickly with them. Oh, then let's get down, Xiao Li said before jumping down with the others. The monster immediately drew the attention of many people who gathered around. Some looked puzzled at the four people, who were at different stages of the Foundation establishment realm. What was going on exactly? How did these four people at the Foundation establishment realm end up riding a lightning beast to this place? Moreover, the beast appeared to be fleeing in panic as if it had seen something terrifying. Were these four people that frightening, especially when there was a child among them? When Xiao Li jumped down, others followed suit. Luckily, all of them were unharmed. Bai Shuang and the others understood that Jiang Xiao Li's coordination was poor. She was strong, but she always ended up in a mess. Jumping down shouldn't have been a problem. But she still fell to the ground. Even so, she was unharmed. There wasn't much to it except for others looking down on Xiao Li's clumsiness. The three people were at a loss. They realized Jiang Xiao Li might have done it intentionally to appear less of a threat. Then, she would launch a powerful attack. What more could be expected from such a powerful individual as Jiang Xiao Li? At that point, the people came closer. They wanted to find out what was happening. There wasn't anything to find out. The four probably had lost their freedom. Hello, friends, may I talk with you? Asked a person at the peak of the Golden Core realm. Xiao Li looked at the person curiously. Do you know my senior brother? Yes. The man nodded and smiled. Really? Where is he? I've been looking for him for so long, Xiao Li said in surprise. Come this way, and I'll tell you everything, said the man. He looked to be about 25 or 26, with a corrupt aura about him. Bai Shuang and the others noticed it but didn't say anything because Xiao Li believed him. There was nothing more to say. They couldn't convince her even if they tried, and they didn't dare to try. Xiao Li, on the other hand, believed the man. After all, he had agreed that he was Beast's friend. Lord Beast would never lie. The people around observed them but didn't speak. They didn't know these people, so there was no need for them to speak up for them. This was a person at the peak of the Golden Core realm, at that. His strength was formidable, and so was his companions. Engaging with him wouldn't be good. Hence, there was no need for it. In the forest, the man looked at Xiao Li and smiled. Just now, how did you ride the lightning beast? Huh? Xiao Li was confused. I just caught it and rode it. Xu Jie felt insulted. Catch it and ride it? Do I look like a fool? How can a mere Foundation establishment realm cultivator say such things? Perhaps he had met a fool. Soon, he wondered why he was dealing with a child when there were three sensible people beside her. You're still young and don't understand, Xu Jie said casually and was about to look for Bai Shuang and the others. I've told you everything. Shouldn't you tell me now where my senior brother is? Xiao Li stopped him. I should tell you everything? Xu Jie chuckled. Yes. You said, Just catch it and ride it, right? Yes. All right, then do it for me so I can see. If you manage to do it, I'll believe you. Xiao Li felt awkward. There wasn't a lightning beast around here. Then, she turned and saw a giant python. A golden python had appeared quietly. It stared at them as though it had found a meal for today. The moment he saw the golden python, Shu Jie froze in place and immediately wanted to flee. I didn't expect to find a golden python in this forest. Damn it. I shouldn't have come in here in the first place. The strength of the golden python was extraordinary. Even someone in the primordial spirit realm might not be able to handle it. In the vicinity of Moon Lake, no one dared to venture into the area where golden pythons were spotted. As long as someone didn't enter the area, there wouldn't be any danger. So, although the golden python was exceptional, the level of danger was relatively low. Xiao Li was excited. With a step forward, a blue light struck through the air, and a punch was thrown. Boom! The golden python was sent flying. Then, Xiao Li grabbed the golden python and brought it to Shu Jie. Immediately, she stood on the python's head and prompted it to rise. The python rose in fear and accepted its fate as a mount. You see, this is how you use it as a mount. I didn't deceive you, Xiao Li said seriously. The beast said that deceiving people is not good. It never deceives people, and I don't deceive people either. Shu Jie was shocked. How did a Foundation Establishment Realm Cultivator manage to do something like that? I told you how to find a mount. I don't deceive people, and you can't, either. Now, it's your turn to tell me where my senior brother is. Xiao Li waved her fists. Deceiving people is not good. You'll get beaten if you do that. Shu Jie was speechless. He regretted provoking Xiao Li. He screamed as he was sent flying with a punch. His face left a deep furrow in the ground. His bones were fractured, and he was injured severely. Blood flowed from his mouth. Although he was still alive, the others were astonished. They had no idea what had happened. Xiao Li and her companions walked out of the forest as everyone watched. For a moment, no one dared to speak. At that moment, a red light appeared in the sky and swiftly entered Xiao Li's mind at an imperceptible speed. Found them. She pointed excitedly forward. Let's go that way. Bai Shuang and the others didn't dare to refuse. They could only follow her. They realized that the little demon Jiang Xiao Li was a force to be reckoned with wherever she went. Jiang Hao stood in front of the corpse. It was his turn. You're alone? Old Man Corpse C asked. Yeah. I'll try alone. Jiang Hao nodded. Then, let's begin. Take care. Old Man Corpse C smiled. As soon as he finished speaking, the corpse suddenly erupted, and a powerful force released a tide. But it was just for a moment. The corpse rushed toward Jiang Hao. The terrifying force made everyone feel worried. The corpse was intending to kill the Golden Core Realm Cultivator. It seemed that the last person got the worst of it. Jiang Hao looked at the corpse. He knew the opponent was not easy to deal with, but he didn't expect it to be so difficult. At that moment, when the corpse approached, he unsheathed his half-moon blade. Jiang Hao took a step forward. Clang. There was a sound of metal on metal as Jiang Hao and the corpse clashed. They remained locked in combat. When everyone thought Jiang Hao had died, he slowly sheathed his sword. Clang. At the moment the sword returned to its sheath, cracks spread across the corpse. With a bang, it shattered into pieces and fell to the ground. Finally, Jiang Hao looked up at Old Man Corpse C and said, "Senior, may I ask a few questions now?" The scene shocked everyone. The others found it unbelievable. Even Old Man Corpse C was surprised. It had happened too fast. That strike was definitely not at the Return to Void Realm. This person's cultivation realm was higher than Return to Void Realm. Moreover, he could freely linger in the corpse realm. "I'll allow 10 questions, Old Man Corpse C said. Chapter 795, Heavenly Blade Inquiry. 1. The people around were shocked at Jiang Hao's strength. Although they knew Jiang Hao was strong, they hadn't expected him to be this extraordinary. A single slash cut through the corpse and the corpse was shattered. Even if they were given time to prepare, they wouldn't be able to do it. This person didn't need any preparation at all. The gap of strength between them was evident. Among them, Shujin was the most shocked. Jiang Hao had told him that if he had any extra questions, he would help ask them. At first, he thought Jiang Hao was offering to be polite. It seemed he was actually being serious. 10 questions. It was simply unbelievable. The members of the End of All Things looked at Jiang Hao. They didn't know what to think. The people of the Great Thousand God sect looked wary. They were not on good terms with smiling San Sheng. The strength the person had shown was a warning that he could kill them easily. Jiang Hao stood still and looked at Old Man Corpse C. He couldn't see through his thoughts, so he could only wait and follow the rules set by him. He was somewhat curious about the strength of the person before him. But it seemed this old man had a high influence. If discovered, it would be very dangerous. He could only wait for an opportunity. Since he had advanced to another realm, appraising Hong Yuye might reveal more information. However, he might be discovered, so he didn't dare to do it. Maybe when Hong Yuye was asleep, he could try it. At that moment, seawater covered Jiang Hao and Hong Yuye. They seemed to have entered a palace formed by the seawater. Old Man Corpse C sat at the highest point of that palace and looked down. You are more capable than I thought. I thought you were just slightly stronger than the others. I got lucky, Senior, Jiang Hao said respectfully. What question do you want to ask? Old Man Corpse C spoke calmly. Can I ask any question? Yes, and that counts as the first question. Jiang Hao was quite surprised. It didn't matter. He still had 9 questions left. I want to know what the members of the End of All Things asked, said Jiang Hao. The question surprised Old Man Corpse C. He looked at the person below and said with a smile. You want to know their message? Jiang Hao nodded. Since he had seen them, he had to ask. He didn't mind, but Hong Yuye would. It was better to ask sooner rather than later to show her that he was serious about finding the person behind the stone tablet. The members of the End of All Things said they would find a body for me so I can go out of the Corpse Sea to the outside world. Old Man Corpse Sea chuckled. Their request was simple. They wanted me to help them attract the water of the Corpse Sea. What will happen then? Jiang Hao asked. The water of the Corpse Sea is extremely complex, but the members of the End of All Things want to use the death aura of the Corpse Sea to awaken a corpse. This corpse has self-awareness but is still dead. Once it awakens, it desires to be resurrected, which would require it to devour endless living beings, Old Man Corpse C said. Senior, did you agree or refuse them? Jiang Hao asked. Is that the 4th question? Old Man Corpse C asked. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. I agreed, Old Man Corpse C said. Jiang Hao wasn't surprised by this. Everyone had choices to make and their own reason for making them. Although this clearly involved the life and death of others on Earth, why would these powerful individuals care about them? Not everyone would be affected by the deaths and struggles of others around them. With the Earth shattered and its creatures suffering, what could be done? After ages, the Earth would rejuvenate, and life would thrive again. Who cared if there were creatures that died and new creatures were born? Jiang Hao sighed inwardly. He was also just one of the countless beings without value. He wanted to break free from this cycle. Jiang Hao at least wanted to be able to protect himself. Very few could sympathize with the suffering of others. Even fewer were those who could genuinely take action for the sake of others. That was why the human emperor was born in the first place. He was different from everyone else, was revered by all races, and loved by humans. So, he fought for everyone against formidable enemies. There was only one human emperor. There were many powerful beings who disregarded all living things. Jiang Hao didn't know what his future would be like. Perhaps he would also become one of them. 6 questions remaining. Where is that corpse? West, Sky Sea Forest. 5 questions remaining. Jiang Hao didn't ask any more questions but intended to find out more about the Corpse Sea. What happens if the border of the corpse realm is closed, and I cross over? You will stay in the Black Sea. After the corpse realm closes, The Black Sea becomes the corpse realm and covers everything like a tide. What happens if I enter the Black Sea? I don't know. I've never been inside, but I've observed it. There's a possibility of entering another world. Of course, there's a higher chance of being devoured by the Black Sea. 3 more questions. Jiang Hao fell silent for a moment. He was thinking about whether he should ask more about the Black Sea. But he realized that even if he asked, the old man might not know anything. So, there was no need to ask. After that, he thought about Heavenly Steely Mountain. What will happen if one leaves an image at Heavenly Steely Mountain? There are many theories about it, but the most likely one is that the person might have a chance to struggle for survival in the Black Sea or have the qualifications to enter the Black Sea. 2 more questions. The qualification to enter the Black Sea. That was good news, but it was still only a possibility. Let's say someone saw people at a certain place in the corpse realm and heard the conversation of the Heavenly Spirit tribe. Are they real or just an illusion? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,